Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Family Podcast, where we have a range of topics that we're going to get stuck into today, mainly around being sick and the different ways that we can measure progress around training and measurements and the way we feel, the vibe, all sorts of stuff like that. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Ben.
But before we get into that, in the link in the description of this episode, we have written out our best 14 tips, science, implementation hacks, everything you need to know. Basically a short course on fat loss as we're heading into the summer months. It's going to be a goal for many of us. So if you would like to find out more about that, the link is in the description. You'll get a little lesson every day delivered right to your inbox. Super easy to consume and more importantly, super easy to implement. As we try with all of our health advice, make it very actionable. Links in the description there. Thank you to our sponsors over at BD Fitness. Now, let's get stuck into it. So you wanted to talk today about being sick, especially in this stage of the year as we're changing seasons. I typically find that the only stage of the year that I tend to get a bit of a runny nose is always in the change of the season, like when it gets first cold and then when it gets warm again. Always maybe it's hay fever, who knows, but it's that time of year. So what do you want to chat about? Take the lead.
So we do have a lot of questions, and this has actually come about because the person I am training with for the marathon has been quite unwell. And it's been quite a learning curve for me, actually, as a coach. Probably because he is a very good friend. So I wear several hats with him compared to just having a coaching hat. So I guess it'd be compared to when your teacher tells you something compared to when your parent tells you the exact same thing. Like there's a little bit more flex when your parents say it compared to when your teacher says it. So it has been quite interesting, and a fair few of our clients have also been unwell, and it is something that does pop up. And I think the biggest thing for me as a coach is managing that mindset piece over anything else. So people get themselves into a bit of a negative mindset.
It is.
That's a good word. I do like it.
And it is.
And not actually understanding the impact it has long term. And also that what the best course of action is.
It's very similar to injury, really, isn't it? It's like it just becomes a little bit of a worry of, and focusing on the things you can't do, especially when you've got the timeline of an event. It makes it all the more hard. Like if it's just a general wellness goal, there's no pressure to speed up the progress or feel like you're falling behind on a program or anything like that. It's just the focus is on getting better. And typically that means that people get better a lot faster than when they're trying to continuously punch through it or, still do little bits, and you end up just delaying the whole process, that immune response that's required to actually get you back to full health.
So the questions that have come direct from my marathon runner is there's multiple. There's 4 questions, but we'll talk about them all in one. So the first one was, what exercises should we do when we are sick? How do we know when we can start getting back into exercise? Is there such a thing as a good exercise when we're sick? And how long will it take for me to get back to my original physical condition before I got sick?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start, Ben?
Yeah, I'm pretty simple with this kind of stuff. Like the exercise you should do when you are sick is pretty much nothing intense. Nothing that could possibly force your body to need to assign resources to recovery. So when you are sick, your body is working hard to make you better. And as soon as you add a layer on top of that of like, I did some lighter back squats, now your body's taking resources away from getting better to recovering from the back squats. So, depending on how sick you are, the best type of exercise you can do could be lying flat on your back all day and just chilling out, or it could be going for a walk around the block. But just keep it like less is more. Don't push anywhere near, I might be able to get away with that. Like literally just let your body do its job and get back to 100% as fast as you can.
Yeah, we definitely align there. So recovery is the biggest piece here, getting back to your best possible health as quickly as possible. So things that aid that are sleep,
Yeah. Absolutely.
eating good food.
Yeah, sleep and rest, staying hydrated as well.
Yep.
Like often when our movement it goes off a bit of a cliff, then we sort of stop drinking water as well, or and obviously if you've got a bit of a cold or flu or any type of illness, drinking a glass of cold water is not overly appealing, but a green tea, a English, just like any kind of liquid's good. Get it in, some fruit.
100% recovery is good. So if you, for example, want to do something, like it's a mindset thing, I would suggest a walk, like Ben
Walk and
said.
a stretch, yeah.
Walk and a stretch. Nothing where you are stressing your body, like Ben said, because your body is already using all of its energy to try and get you well. So that should be your priority. People try and do things prematurely, which I know.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And it's not actually beneficial.
Yeah.
Apart from filling that mindset piece, which it can actually make that mindset piece worse.
Yeah.
Because you're not feeling good after you're doing that exercise, because that exercise was so much harder.
Yeah, it can cause you to go straight back to where you were without
Exactly.
realizing. There is a big difference between being functional and then being able to perform. Like you will be able to go back to work and go back to your regular day-to-day kind of obligations well before you can go back to doing a 12-minute AMRAP of kettlebell swings and running. Like there's a bit of a different demand on the body between what you're actually doing. So keep that in mind too. Is like as soon as you feel like you can get back to day-to-day life, you probably then need a couple of days before you can get back to, intense exercise, like strenuous work.
Yeah, exactly. So I think context is also so important. This is going to be so individual for every person. What type of sickness? How long were you sick for? Are you dealing with, like I know Bruno was dealing with a sick family as well. So his son was sick, his wife was sick. You've got so many other things you're dealing with on top of your regular day-to-day.
Yeah, keep in mind that we're going to be taking a very broad brush approach to these questions because, like the devil really is in the detail depending on the person and how sick they are. But as a general rule, it's just focus on getting better as soon as you can because that will actually allow you to get into everything faster anyway, rather than just extending that period of sickness by kind of trying to come back and hoping for the best.
Yeah. So wanting specifics on what exercises to do.
Yeah, that would be down to the person.
Yeah, that is 100% down to that person. Yeah. And I know you didn't take my advice anyway. So.
Yeah, now if we were, Instagram people, we'd probably give out really detailed advice to people we don't know, but that's not how we roll.
We don't roll like that. So you should have been walking, but yeah, like I said, you went against my advice and
or you should have been flat
wanted.
on your back for a week and just gone, like straight back to 100%. It really does depend on where they're at.
Yeah. But building back up to that initial physical condition, I think that's probably something that we could talk about a little bit more, Ben.
Yeah, sure.
So once you are feeling well enough to exercise, the key would be in like the volume and testing and really trusting how you're feeling after that.
Yeah, just managing those volume and intensity in particular. So not necessarily managing the style of movement in regards to, I'm nearly better, so a squat's probably better than a lunge. Like you don't need to go to that type of detail, but certainly, if it's 5 working sets and you would normally do 100 kilos on a back squat, maybe today you do 60.
Yeah, so let's relate this one back to running, for example.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
So we did our run for time.
Yeah.
And in the program you set for me, which Bruno is following the same one as me, or he has been until he got sick. So you programmed an hour 15.
Yep.
And we went for a run and I said, just do as long as you can. So as long as you feel like you can do that. You really need to trust how you are feeling. So he did 1 hour instead of an hour 15.
Yeah.
What were the effects of that? So I asked him afterwards, were you coughing? How'd you feel? Did you recover okay? Do you feel ready to run again? Like those types of questions are things you should be asking yourself. Okay, so I can do X now and I felt this way. Like I responded this way. Obviously, if you pulled up terribly from that run, couldn't recover, we wouldn't be going for another run. However, if you are feeling better about that, then we're ready to then see, okay, so can we do longer than an hour? So we've got another timed run programmed this week. So can we go longer than that hour? How are you feeling during? You can stop running at any time. So really trusting how you are feeling when you are sick, I think, is really important.
Yeah, so just understanding the different variables with each, like, different style of exercise. So, I use the gym example of you might do less sets and reps at a lighter weight. But, as you say with the cardio example, you might take the pressure completely off a time goal and just run well within your means, and use that, like, relative effort scale, like, can I hold a conversation, and then just not worry about the pace at all. Just get your body back into that groove. But that's where a good coach will be able to kind of guide you on that and just make sure that, like, I think a lot of the stress with illness just comes from second guessing yourself. And at the end of the day, sort of having that feeling of like, well, maybe I'm okay, but what do I know? And trying to find the balance between pushing yourself because, sometimes that's what you need to do with your training, but also letting yourself kind of, actually having a breather, and that, just someone you can bounce a few ideas off to say, actually, it's okay, this is normal, this is how you're supposed to feel, just takes that stress off yourself. As I think a lot of people will be able to relate to, where it's like, yeah, actually, just being told that this is the process, stick with it, is stress release in itself.
And that process is different for every individual. So, like, when you ask question, like, how long will it be until I'm back to my normal self? Like, who knows? Those things you can't control, don't worry about. It's the things you can control. So that effort, knowing that intensity, how you feel, going to bed early, eating good food, staying hydrated, they're all things you can control.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on as well. It's like, don't be a hero with your training if you're up watching 3 Netflix episodes until midnight. Like, focus that energy on stuff that's actually going to yield you a return. Like, we get that all the time, and we have like a bit of a term for it called like fake tough, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll come in and slaughter myself in the gym and just really push hard, but then not be able to go to bed before midnight because I'm trying to squeeze in the last episode of X and Y. It's like, you need to kind of diversify your effort and not just put all your eggs in one basket, but make sure that you're coming at it from a little bit more of a balanced, holistic approach, where you're actually gonna, okay, if I need to recover, what can I control that would help my recovery? And going to bed's obviously an easy example of that one, but also making sure you're getting some fruit in and some extra electrolytes. Maybe you grab a couple of Gatorades. Maybe, you're making sure you salt your meals, and you're just being a little bit more diligent there. And that will also ease stress when you've got that timeline of an event coming, is because you're doing what you can compared to just waiting. And then, like slamming your head against a brick wall because you can't run just yet, or you can't lift weights just yet. But, I've been guilty of that in the past, and I think everyone is, and you learn from experience. But yeah, we see that a lot, where it's like, stop worrying so much about this and focus on something else, or, like, that's actually going to give you the rewards that you're hoping for anyway, is you sort of focusing all your energy on something that's just making it a little bit worse.
Yeah. Agree.
I think we touched on that. Is there any such thing as good exercise while sick? No, not really. I mean, to tie a bow on it, the most important thing you can do when you're sick is just focus your energies on getting better. Don't prolong the sickness by trying to do what by being stoic and trying to continue on and worrying about missing a week here or there. It's like all energy to getting better. And then as soon as you're better, then you'll get back to what you were doing anyway relatively quickly. But it's like, it's just extended when you're trying to kind of cling on or come back just a little bit too early.
Yeah. One other thing I think I really want to touch on is focusing on your own journey. So I'm doing this marathon with Bruno, but I know, like, him seeing my Strava, him seeing my runs, that was like a trigger for him. So if you know you're the type of person that is affected by that kind of thing, like that doesn't make you feel good, don't look at Strava for the week. It's okay if you don't give someone kudos. It's okay.
Kudos.
Like, if that's not going to benefit you in that situation you're in, you need to surround yourself with what is. So what is going to make you feel better? And I think that's really important. It's okay to put those blinkers on for a week. Okay, normally that puts me in a good space, but at the moment that's putting me in a bad space. Remove it.
Well, comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
It is. It absolutely is, and we live by it.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think we had another one about measurements.
Yeah, measuring. When we measure ourselves, do our muscles get bigger because of working out? My arms have not moved, so this is the arm measurements, but they are getting toned. Is that good or bad? First question, yes, muscles will get slightly bigger because of working. I'm still waiting for mine to get bigger, but I hear that this happens when you lift weights. So I'm, just every day I wake up and I'm like, please God, be tight on my sleeves, but not quite. My arms have not moved measurement-wise, but they are getting toned. Is that good or bad? I'd say that's bloody good.
That is very good.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a wider question here. Composition changes.
Yeah.
So let's touch on that. So we are way too black and white. I say we as a community are way too black and white, and we want to make things as obvious as possible when it comes to measuring composition change, like our body composition. So what makes up the 85 kilos that I weigh when I jump on the scale, or the 55 kilos, or whatever it is you weigh. And the whole goal of kind of most people's health journey, certainly who we coach, is to make that number lighter. But that's not the actual goal. Like, the goal is to not be lighter. The goal is to change the body composition. So to have less body fat and more lean muscle tissue. And then just the way we measure that is on the scales or with the measurements. But you can lose 2 kilos of body fat and gain 2 kilos of muscle, and the scales say 0, and you think, what the hell is anything even happening? And the same thing can happen when you measure certain different spots of your body too. Like, you can, you gain a little bit of muscle in your biceps and triceps from doing arm work, especially if you haven't in a long time. You're going to see some pretty good results there, like relatively quickly, and then it'll plateau out as you get more experience with training. But you can wrap the measuring tape around your arm and it'll say, oh, no change, but you can visually see there's a change. And that's why sorry to cut you off, that's why we diversify the way we do measurements, is that you don't just put all your eggs in the measuring tape and you don't just put all of your eggs on the scale. Is that the more diverse you are with the way you measure your progress, in line with what your actual goal is. If your goal's got nothing to do with composition, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to measure it. But that's why, is so that you can have a more educated, conclusion on what's happening to your body.
I don't think we have ever been more aligned on a podcast.
This is boring listening.
This is awesome. I love it. So the circumference, so the actual measurement, like Ben was saying, could go unchanged, but that physical appearance could be so different.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the people we coach are on a weight loss journey. That composition piece is massive. So it's the reduction of fat and the introduction of muscle will make you look so different. And that measurement could be minute.
Yeah. So we train people. I'll just cut you off. You go.
Every time. You guys can't see him doing it, but he does it to me every time.
I give her like this shh emotion. I'm like, shh, let me talk now.
He loves it. So that is why with all of our programs, we use 3 different metrics. So we use body measurements, we use progress pictures, and we use weight.
Yeah.
When we speak to individuals, if there's any issues around any of those metrics, then we discuss that. Obviously, they're not essential, and we want it to be beneficial for that individual and that individual's journey. But having that combination of those 3 will give you a very good idea of where you are at.
And they're more and less valuable depending on whereabouts you are on your journey too. So, in the really short term, when you're just so let's use weight loss as an example. Let's say that I'm an 83 kg woman and I would like to get down to 65. In the really initial first weeks to month, the scales are going to tell the story. because that initial drop that I'm going to get by using our methods and balancing out the intake and just bringing a little bit more structure and routine to the eating, I'm going to see rewards from those changes consistently implemented on the scale before I see them in a photo. You know, like, you're not going to be able to tell a 2 kg difference in a photo, especially when I'm, 18 kilos away from my goal weight per se. Now, in the, month 1 to month 3 or 4, the measurements are going to tell the story. Like, that's when my clothes are going to start to fit differently, and they're going to become really important in the journey, and the scale will continue to fluctuate, but hopefully trending on the way down if everything's going well, like if that's what you're trying to do. But even then, I could take a photo from front on and still maybe not be it maybe not really reflect the drastic changes in the other metrics. But as soon as I hit that, when I lose 15 kilos, the photos are going to be incredible and the measurements won't tell you the story. Like, that visual always is much more powerful than, a number on a scale or a number on a tape measure. So depending on the stage of your journey, like, different metrics become, it's like more prevalent or more powerful or whatever the word is. I'm just being, I'm not articulating it properly, but you can kind of catch my drift, where it's like, you need that proof of concept early, like, this is working and I'm on the right path, and that's the scale. And then it moves on to the measurements, and then that wow end product is the photos.
I love it when clients' goals change from a number to a vision.
Yeah.
That is one of the favorite things I've ever done as a coach. You put 2 women together, both weighing 70 kilos, one trained, one untrained. That trained 70 kilo woman is generally quite confident and very happy with herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have an untrained 70 kilo woman that wants to be 50 kilos. Big difference.
Yeah.
So where you are on your journey is very, very important. And never get caught on one metric.
Yeah.
Always use multiple, and always celebrate your wins, guys. No matter where you are at your journey, like, celebrate the things you're doing right and the things you have been able to implement. That success piece is so important.
Yeah, for sure. And that, that number on a scale that people kind of have in their mind is typically associated with a vision. Like, back when I was, at feeling my best, I was 63 and I was a size 8. So, like, the goal is size 8, but we've associated that 63 with the size 8. But you're spot on. Like, the more comfortable and the better people feel, the less attachment they typically have to the number, and the more they kind of have to, like, a feeling, and then, just feeling strong and comfortable in their clothes and with plenty of energy and all that type of stuff. But that it's very hard to tell that to a person who is just starting, because they're like, yeah, that's cool. And, like, you can kind of tell that they don't really believe it. And then you ask them again at, weeks 7 or 8 of the one-to-one coaching, and they're like, yeah, I didn't know what you meant, but now I know. In the very same as when you say, oh yeah, expending more energy through training will give you more energy throughout the day. And they're like, brother, you skipped maths. That doesn't make sense. And it's like, it doesn't, but people who train know this.
Yeah.
They're like walking on top of the ground, which is a strange saying because we all walk on top of the ground, but, like, they're just sort of, they're springing through the day compared to dragging their feet.
Yeah.
Everyone who exercises knows that.
Yeah. I love it. Great questions this week, guys. I actually do have one more. We just had our GM from marketing pop in, Fiona, thank you. And she did mention, because we were obviously doing the podcast today, she said, look, I saw her on TikTok this morning. This lady was telling me that I should have a coffee first thing in the morning to start my metabolism.
Jesus Christ.
I said, okay, I'll ask Ben live. Ben, thoughts?
I mean, that's just dumb shit, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's just kickstarting your metabolism. Like, it's just your metabolism. That's like waking up and turning on a light in your house to kickstart the electricity. And it's like, it's there. Your metabolism's going 24/7. It's just dumb. Guys, if you see videos like this and you're like, oh, I wonder if that's real, please send them to me.
Yeah, Ben does love these.
It's just so silly. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So, like, there's no such thing as a dumb question in, like, certainly from our clients and community. But if that person's a professional, then they need to, like, kick in the figurative pills. Was it a girl, say?
It was a girl, and Fiona did say she was going to unfollow her.
Well, that too.
So obviously...
Let your thumbs do the talking, guys.
A lot of the stuff we do see on socials are from people because they look a certain way or they are successful in a certain field. So actually being aware of where they are getting their information.
Flat out frauds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, for example, I did say to Fiona, like, coffee is an appetite suppressant. So if you did have coffee and you were skipping breakfast, that's reducing your calories, which is going to help you lose weight. Like,
yeah.
And that's obviously people she's targeting. So, yeah, it's just, it is interesting what people do put out there and what people believe. So, like we say, even everything we say, I always tell people and I always promote that people educate themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, like, just on that, if you didn't hear our podcast on nutrition coaching a couple back and you want a little bit more, I guess, philosophy and perspective around the way we like to, teach our community about food and the different, things that work and don't work, then definitely give that a listen. Because, I mean, the more you know, the less you have your head turned by videos like this. And, like if you just swipe through them and the algorithm corrects and you don't get them anymore. So it's like lots of videos like that are literally just put out there to get views to then be able to take to a marketing agency and say, hey, Lipton iced tea, like I got 3 million views on this TikTok and, to hopefully get some kind of sponsorship out of there. So it's literally just, what can I say that's really outlandish and crazy that can help, either generate enough eyeballs to launch my own 6-week hot chick program that, AI wrote, or how can I get a sponsorship deal? And that's the reality of it, is there are lots of people who do that.
Yeah, people make a lot of money by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other stupid videos you need to bring up? Or?
No, I did think you'd like that one.
Oh, God. Yeah. Send them through to me. You know what? Yeah. Anyway, all right. I'm going to stop.
Look, he's mad. Have a good day, guys.
See ya.